Alright, so let's check to see if it's going. Looks like it's going right now. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Should be doing a monitor capture. Yep. Alright. Well, welcome, your logical libertarian, Mitch Drury. It's been a while since we've been on this channel, but I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about something here. I really wanted to talk about just the issue of just mass shootings and gun deaths in America. I brought it up a little bit before, and I was a little unorganized and a lot less driven and directed. But I really think I need to talk about this because, again, every time a mass shooting comes out, people just do one of two things, depending on what side of the two main fences you stand on. Either you got people wanting to do away with semi-automatic rifles, calling them assault weapons because they're retarded, or you got people who just don't do anything and, you know, say something generic like thoughts and prayers, or, oh well, it's this problem and it's a lone wolf. You know, people don't want to talk about the actual underlying issues. When you look into gun statistics, when you look into the studies that have been done by the CDC and the FBI, which do exist, and you can look into it. You can do your own studies. And when you look into this, it really shows where the problem is. Because for the longest time, I always thought when I was younger that it was rifles that were the big killer. And if you watch mass shooting trends, you'd think it is. But they're not. I'm going to show you guys the way deaths break down in America. I'll show you guys about how many mass shooting victims there are typically. Now it's gone up a little bit, probably double or triple. And this is including injuries and deaths. As well as we're going to go over a few things about mass shootings and then just gun violence in general and what it involves. So, let's take a look. Now the first thing I want to start off with is this about mass shootings. So I found this, you look up, mass shooting statistics. It's from the Federal Bureau of Investigations and the U.S. Department of Justice. So, I mean, it's fairly, it's fairly legitimate. It's a fairly legitimate study. In 2013, they did from the turn of the century through 2013. Take a look. 160 incidents where they considered mass shootings, or active shooter incidents that they looked at. 160 of them. Of them, about 1,000 people were killed or wounded, with it being about 50-50. And there's been a rise. Most states have them. Now, here's one thing that's a big tell at first. In 64 of the incidents, about 40%, would have fallen within mass shooting. And the incidents with the highest thing I want to take a look at too and show you. The incidents with the highest body counts: Fort Hood, Sandy Hook, Aurora, and Virginia Tech. All of them were people who were deeply, deeply disturbed. Sandy Hook, a person with not only mental disabilities, but obvious mental health disorders. Aurora, a sociopath. Virginia Tech was a psychopath, someone who was very deeply disturbed. Fort Hood, multiple shooters who were deeply disturbed. One person, I believe, did run through with a weapon. People who are very deeply disturbed. And in about the same amount of incidents, about 40%, nearly half, the shooter committed suicide, with most of them doing it at the scene of the crime. And we'll go into about standoffs as well. But it's showing here, you're seeing a pattern of mental health. A pattern of people doing this not because of the gun, but because maybe there's something else underlying. So we have that. Now let's take a look at this. Let's go to all deaths. So, and yeah, motor vehicle and firearm are pretty similar. They're about the same. About 34 to 35,000 a year. Let's take a look at homicide. Of the total of 15,000, 11,000 were firearms. Of the total nearly 34,000, almost half, no, over half, 2/3 were suicide. Suicide. About half of all suicide are firearm related. With about a third going by, suffocation. But 2/3 of all firearm-related deaths, that's going back again, all injuries, all firearm death, 33,500. Suicide, about 21,500. That's just under 2/3. And this is a consistent area every single year. And most of these mass shootings are not by sane people. They're one of two things. Either someone who's an ideologue, they're tied to a terrorist organization or some other political reasons, or they're deeply mentally disturbed. They are textbook psychopaths or sociopaths. They're violent, they're antisocial, they have no regard for the rights or the laws of society or the impact of their actions on others, other than that they may be killing them and might even take joy in that. Aurora was that way. Sandy Hook was sort of that way. Columbine, that way. Virginia Tech, that way. The shooting we had with a few years back with a guy who was linked to, said he was doing it in favor of Black Lives Matter, linked to a political reason, but still didn't care and wanted to seek out to kill certain people. These aren't people who are normal, who are mentally stable. And it seems we aren't helping those people who might be mentally stable have they got the help they deserved. We have a high suicide number. Let's take a look at suicide rates. Let's not trust Wikipedia. So suicide rates in 2015. The United States, 19.5, 16, 17, 38, 23, 26, 32. We're in the high areas, But let's take a look at most modern countries. 14. 9. Mexico, 8. Japan's got a high one. China, 7. We're actually on the higher to middle end of suicide rates for most of the Western world. France is around the same as we are. The UK, Ireland, Iceland, Germany, Austria, Czech, Sweden. You'll notice all these places have some bars. Russia has a high one. Kazakhstan. But you look at most of the Western world. Germany, 13. Well, Belgium's a little bit high. But the UK is 11. Ireland's 18. France is high. Spain, 9. Portugal's 14. Italy's 9. Greece, 5. Albania, 5. Bosnia, 7. Even Saudi Arabia is at 5. And where's Israel? Was it what, 4 or 5? 8. Egypt, 5. Let's take a look at here. Look at all this. Now compared to Canada, 15. We're nearly 20. We're in the higher end of the Western world. Maybe with France and a few of the Slavic nations, you know, Poland's pretty high there. But with France really and Ireland being the ones that are really close to us, we have an issue. We have a mental health issue. And no one's doing anything about it. We just continue to ignore it and instead choose to blame the gun, to blame lobbies. Now, I'm not saying that people being upset when a mass shooting happens is unreasonable. It's not. They happen all too often in the U.S. But it leads me to believe that perhaps there's a problem with our mental health system. If we have so many disturbed people committing mass suicides, committing suicide, killing other people, perhaps we might not be doing very well in the mental health department. And I think it's something that we could work on. I think it's something that we need to work on. And yeah, you'll hear a lot of conservatives say, oh, it's a mental health issue, and they won't say anything about it. And I agree with anyone who gets annoyed with that, making a statement and not acting on it. But I cannot stand by and hear people say it's not a mental health problem and instead blame inanimate objects and have conspiracy theories about the gun lobby and, you know, this other crap and all these things about that just completely ignore the heart of the issue. And the main thing being, too, the gun laws don't do anything. It's been shown every single time. They don't do anything. We have created more and more stricter and stricter gun laws. And throughout the states, and cities, counties, and even throughout the nation. And they don't stop the violence. Instead, it increases. And while the overall homicide rate's roughly going down, we still have high mass shootings, even though we are being stricter on magazines, stricter on action types. People are still getting these guns, and they're still using them to kill. And that's the thing. There hasn't been an analysis of what happened with this shooting. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Nicholas Cruz. This is the shooter. 4 Florida shooting warning signs that were missed. No. Don't want to hear your stupid ass ad. This is from Yahoo, so take it as you will. As the U.S. reels from the next killing spree, 17 people dead. There's 19 confessed to carrying out the shooting, so he came forth like Dylan Roof. His orphan, his mother died under a lot of stress. Maybe not his fault. Definitely not his fault. Set off the fire alarm. And that's what he did. He used a bulletproof vest, which is not easy to get. They were tipped off. After the shooting, it emerged that the FBI was tipped off last December about a YouTube user with the name Nicholas Crude who expressed a desire to become a professional school shooter. Yeah, that is our favorite weapon. So that. And probably visit them 2 agents. So they were informed, and they couldn't find anything. Apparently, though, they were able to somehow talk to him. There's another one, the Pulse one. Not only that, though, he had offered there were warning signs. Outside of that, teachers knew he was troubled. He was a troubled him. Got into a fight. Was abusive. Making threats. They wouldn't allow him with a backpack on. He continuously set off the fire alarm. Always had guns on him and stuff like that. Now, granted, this is from a kid, so they may be wrong. They didn't bother to tell the police. Claimed to have seared voices, so may have been schizophrenic. Apparently he was mentally ill. Why wasn't he getting treatment? Oh, it does need to be addressed. See, someone else agrees. Don't care about what Trump has to say. Wow, look, a lot of people are agreeing with me. Bought the firearm used in the mass lawfully. It wasn't an assault weapon. It was a semi-automatic rifle. Funny, apparently he had issues, but they never issued a court order for him to be treated. There's the underlying issue. We are so scared to have professionals who can clinically diagnose these issues, issue a court order for their help, for them to get help. Because of that, because there's no record of the court order, he could buy a gun. It's not the fault of the NRA. It's not the fault of gun owners. It's not the fault of the gun lobby. It's the fault of the fact that we do not want to take the time to trust the professionals who are saying this person is mentally ill. They say they have voices. They say they want to kill people. They say they want to harm people. They say they fantasize about this. Not once do they get the treatment they deserve and the treatment they need that may have saved lives. And you want to get all pissed off about guns and gun owners and gun lobbies. You can honestly go fuck yourself. Because the issue isn't that. The issue is mental health. We need to do more. And we need to not have some stupid shit like the Affordable Care Act that didn't really help. And nothing some stupid shit like what Trump's doing that's stripping away some of the few good things about the Affordable Care Act. We need to have a comprehensive medical for physical and mental health. We need something that can help people. We need to have mandatory annual mental health checks. And yeah, if you need a court order or if you have it recorded, and it can be recorded with your sheriff's department, that you are seen as being evaluated as mentally unstable to essentially drive or own a firearm, you shouldn't be allowed to. You can then be later deemed mentally stable. That requires the annual check. Maybe even more if it's court ordered. We need to work on something like this. We need to stop beating around the bush and not doing anything. Having people think that limiting weapons is going to change something. You take away the AR-15, they'll use a Kalashnikov. You take away the Kalashnikov, they'll use a SIG. You take away the SIG, they'll use the Mini-14. Take away the Mini-14, they'll use the M1 Garand or a M1 carbine. You take away those, they'll end up using a Mossberg shotgun or some sort of semi-automatic shotgun. Take away that, they'll use the most commonly used firearm in America, the handgun. Then what are you going to do? You're going to take away handguns at that point? Good luck. Fucking liberals who want to take away guns own handguns. Good luck with that. The focus is not at all where it needs to be. And I understand, again, the anger. I understand the frustration. People are dead. Needlessly dead. People who didn't deserve to die. But is it really worth wasting time pushing laws that don't work, or just sending thoughts and prayers? Why don't we actually do something? Make our justice system and our mental health and just overall health system better and better equipped to handle this, to catch the signs and act. It's not preemptive when the signs are there. If someone telegraphs to you they're going to do something, you're not acting preemptive anymore. You are reacting. I am sick of this. And one of the main reasons I'm sick of this is every time one of these shootings happens, my gun safe becomes a little bit less legal. I live in California. They tighten shit all the time. Doesn't stop our gun violence. We're one of the heaviest gun violent states in the U.S. We actually had a mass shooting not too long ago in my home county. Why? because the person was released from prison, they were a felon, and law enforcement didn't act when reports were sent in. When the signs were there, they didn't act. They didn't get a probable cause to search or anything. That was the failure of the system, the failure of law enforcement, the failure of our criminal system, failure of our mental health system. It cost all those people in Rancho, as well as the person's wife. But yes, blame the NRA. If you're conservative, blame schools not forcing people to pray. Yes. Blame your stupid shit. Be continuously, willfully ignorant to the actual issue, and continue to let this country rot. I'm tired of it. It's all plain as day. CDC, Federal Bureau of Investigations. All you need to look at, boom, stats are right there. And they're plain as day, and they speak for themselves. People wanting to say all these fucking progressives, oh, we need fucking studies about gun violence. They're there. They've been there. Look it up. But you'll see something that you don't want to find. Most gun murders are not involving semi-automatic rifles. They're involving handguns. And most gun deaths, 2/3, are suicide. All points to that mental health issue. And it pulls away the scary spotlight towards the AR-15 and semi-automatic weapons. They can't hide behind their precious "it's an assault weapon" argument anymore. And all these fucking conservatives can't stand that most of the people doing all of this are also religious, like every other American. And it's fine. Maybe they need a good mental health system. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe they have anger issues. Maybe they need something. And it's not, I'm not saying that every single killer is some deranged, far off the end psychopath that is unsalvageable. I'm saying most of them probably could have had normal, effective, productive, at least content lives had we been able to do what we could do. Had we been able to offer them the mental health they needed. Had we been able to catch it earlier and stop this carnage. But no. No, instead, we choose to continuously blame things like the gun, or the NRA, or white people, or conservatives, or liberals, or progressives, if you want to be technically correct, because they're not liberals, or whatever else, not having religion forced in school. All these stupid fucking things. We're not gonna grow up and accept that maybe we are the ones at fault. We turned a blind eye. We didn't reach out and try to help. We aren't advocating for those who are trying to reach out and be heard. And oftentimes that's what this is. They need help. They're trying to get it. They tried getting it. They tried posting comments on YouTube, posting things on Facebook, torturing animals in front of people, acting out in aggression, trying to get help. They just don't know how. And instead of helping them, we ostracize or we turn a blind eye. The typical American way. Hey, it's not my fucking problem. Until it is. I've been your logical libertarian. And if you're pissed off about this, good. Go fuck yourself. Have a good fucking Saturday.